What's up, everybody? It's Flake, and I wanted to just drop a little video. I wanted to get a little bit more into this whole YouTube thing, and basically I figured, you know what, why not talk about some of the things regarding Gwent that I figured, you know what, people might want to hear about from my unique perspective, and here are 5 things that would be cool to come to Gwent, but is likely not going to happen. So, again, it's not that these are things that are 100% not happening. It's just that as it stands right now, there are no plans for it, and you could probably not suspect that it's happening anytime soon. I mean, the one that I can just get out of the way right now is likely Dagon. I think it's been said multiple times that it's not on the radar. Dagon as a card, as a leader, as whatever is not exactly on the menu. As far as I know, I mean, I could have been led astray, but nonetheless, here are 5 things that would be cool to come to Gwent, but probably aren't happening. Number 5 is going to be Reveal as an archetype, as it once was. Now, Reveal as an archetype, I did do a video as to how we can make a quote-unquote Reveal style archetype for Nilfgaard that gives information without actually flipping cards over for your opponent to see, or for you to see, rather. And nonetheless, Reveal as it once was just kind of takes away a lot of the interest in terms of games and seeing what games are. If you've played Magic, you know that there's a lot of cards that allow you to examine your opponent's hand. And for that, it takes a lot of the interest out of the game and a lot of the surprise elements and strategy out of it. And being able to just sort of flip over your opponent's cards, especially in a game of Gwent where it's just you play on your turn, your opponent plays on one card on their turn, it's back and forth. It's hard to actually get any kind of traction going when your opponent knows everything that you're going to do and the likely order that you're going to do them in. So Reveal as it once was, which was OP, let's be honest, it was a really, really big-time crazy mechanic that kind of spiraled out of control and became a very problematic archetype worth a lot of points. You're creating points and you're knowing exactly what your opponent is doing. It makes for a very unpleasant experience. And that's saying something for Nilfgaard that has cloggers and mill and all kinds of other nonsensical, annoying things that they can do to make you hate them. Next is going to be one that really hits me right in the heart. It's there's likely not going to be any Gwent events, official rather, in North America. I think that this is something that is probably the ship has sailed for this one. I know that ages ago, you guys probably know that Wild Hunt was a tournament that was organized 2 times by myself, people like No Control, Mark This, etc. Put this tournament together, and they were great successes, and they were a lot of fun, and it put a lot of people on the map. I mean, our first champion was Trinet, which really, thrust them onto the scene as a really legitimate player. It also was the launch pad for my mediocre career, if you would. So I have a very fond place for North American events, but in terms of official Gwent tournaments, ones that CDPR organizes, sponsors, and actually produces, that's not going to happen. And I'm saying this from a perspective of not because they hate North America, on quite the contrary. I mean, they regularly, bring people like myself from Canada, Shinmiri from America, to Warsaw for their tournaments, and they're very, very happy to deal with us, and it's been a great relationship. It's just that it just doesn't make sense when, I mean, let's be honest, the majority of players are playing not in North America. There's tons of North American players, but the best in the world exist elsewhere. And bringing one to North America is something that I tried a long time ago with a massive proposal that looked like it was going to happen, but then a lot of bad things happened, not on CDPR's side, let's be honest. The world kind of went topsy-turvy, and the game was in an interesting state with homecoming and all that. So nonetheless, a North American tournament, an official CDPR North American tournament, is not going to happen. As much as I would love to see it happen, I don't think CDPR has that on their radar in any way, shape, or form. However, that doesn't stop people from the community to make that happen. A Wild Hunt 3 LAN tournament would be something that I would be there in a heartbeat to, offer my services to and my support to. I would do that at the drop of a hat. I would love to do it. But a CDPR one, no, not happening. Number 3 is going to be a Twitch Rivals style marketing scheme, like a buddy system, something where you have a small stakes tournament with big names that play on a big on a big stage, or a big for something that's involving a third-party marketing ploy to go ahead and actually push the product and put eyes on the product. Gwent has basically been very reluctant and rather staunch about not getting involved with that. Not that they haven't pursued it, or I don't think they need it, frankly. I don't think that, investing tons of money into something like Twitch Rivals or a buddy system type thing is going to really do anything to really promote the game. That the players themselves and the game itself, the actual quality of the game, is going to do, that's going to do the job for it. Something like Twitch Rivals, frankly, is an interesting concept. One that I believe about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I brought up on a Reddit thread. Now, this is really digging deep, and it's literally something in my mind, but there was a Reddit thread a while ago, and I can't dig it up because it's literally 2 years old by now. But it was a conversation about how to promote and market the game. And I mentioned that something like, Magic Arena and other type games were really digging deep into the whole Twitch Rivals kind of marketing ploy of getting big names to play in low-stakes tournaments to just get eyes on the game and promote it from that perspective. Now, the response I got was actually from a CDPR employee, and it was along the lines of it's something that they would definitely investigate and look at the merits of. But I don't think that the tournament itself, something along those lines like a invitational style tournament, a showcase tournament, is going to do much for the marketing of the game. I think the game itself is very comfortable with where it exists on the map of CCGs. There are the titans in the market that are out there. There's a lot of competition, and I think that Gwent really digs into the fact that it is a unique option other than all the other games that are out there that are more popular. I'm not saying that Gwent is trying to do anything to supplant those big titans, those Hearthstones, those Magics, etc. In reality, I mean, the numbers for the game have been on the increase, and the accessibility through different platforms has really helped it. And I think to the point where the money for this game, it's better invested elsewhere than it is in something like Twitch Rivals and whatnot. And the fact that, years ago when the game was trying to bud, or trying to grow through some growing pains and really sort of progress through some difficult times, when the money needed to go to certain places, I think it went to the right places, which is the game development versus that type of style of marketing. So something like Twitch Rivals, I don't think that kind of third-party marketing showcase is ever going to happen for Gwent. The next one I'm going to talk about is number 2 that I don't think is ever going to happen is a sideboard system for tournaments. And this one's a little bit outlandish because it's a conversation that I've had multiple times, and it's an idea that I've explored with various people about how to maybe shake up the tournament format. Now, when it comes to tournament format, you have to really sort of gear it down to how the deck building situation is. If you look at card games like Magic and Hearthstone, for example, they have 2 different formats, which is you bring various classes in Hearthstone and one gets banned, and then you go through with a conquest format. However, in Magic, it's different. You bring one deck and you have a sideboard, and you go from there in best of 3 situations and Swisses and brackets, etc. And the reason why is because in Magic, there are really no deck building limitations. You could take any card from any color and you can make a deck out of it. It could be 5 color and all kinds of craziness in that regard. However, and in which case, you have to make a deck that could really be self-sustaining, and the sideboard system is very important and integral to your deck building process in terms of, what are you weak to, what are you strong against, and how do you, bridge the gap in between. However, Gwent is more like Hearthstone in the sense that you have a faction or a color or a class that you can build your deck around, only that class, plus the neutral support cards that go along with it. That's very much like what Gwent is. You pick a color or a faction, in which case, be it Skellige or Northern Realms or Squayatel or whatever, and then you have neutral cards that can support it. And in that case, you can't really just go in with one particular color or faction, because you're going to be weak to something else. It might just be a rock, paper, scissors situation where you just get an unfavorable matchup and then you're out. The sideboarding situation is very much so to get, if you lose game one of a best of three, you'll be able to cycle cards into your deck to make sure that you're not as weak or susceptible to those types of strategies in the follow-up game. Now, for Gwent, it's not going to happen. And I've honestly come up with ideas that could really make this interesting. However, in any faction-based card game, any type of class specific type cards that cannot be used in any other deck but that type of faction as your lead, it's not going to happen. Though I really would like to play a tournament for fun, just as a proof of concept that it can work. You bring in one faction, you make your deck, and then you have about 15 to 20 provisions in a sideboard that you're able to go ahead and rotate out based on a best of three situation. I think that would be an intriguing way to do it, but it would never happen. And I don't think this one's very surprising. I think that in any type of class-based deck building system, sideboards are just not part of the process. The final one that I think is almost inevitable, but it doesn't seem like it's ever going to be on the radar. It's something that I feel is kind of like the ticking doom of time of it's something that you cannot beat. It's the ultimate boss, and I'm talking about standard rotation. And standard rotation eventually creeps up based on the fact that eventually there's going to be so many cards, and cards are just either not going to get played or cards are going to be printed that are going to be power crept all the way to hell because they're the only ways that it's going to get played. A card that is published, the only chance it gets played is if it's better or fits into a synergy better than cards that are already existing. Now, standard rotation is something that Jason Slama has said is something that they're trying to avoid, that they're looking to produce cards and create a library of actual cards that are not necessarily going to require standard rotation because they're going to be very different from one another. They're all going to be playing into a particular archetype or style or strategy that when new cards come out will either support or mix up those strategies. It's something that standard rotation or that will make it immune to something that will require standard rotation. It's not a simple matter of this card is just strictly better than this card in this provision slot, so I have to play it. I mean, now that's going to be true in certain cases, as we all see. Wolfpack as a 4-provision card is just completely outgunned by a myriad of other types of cards that exist in that provision slot. Wolfpack, as sad as it may sound, might never ever see play. Now, standard rotation might be something where there's a classic set that is essentially named, like these are this is the quote unquote classic set, the base set, the core set that can survive from rotation to rotation, and everything beyond that goes through a particular rotation every year or so. I mean, it's true in every single other card game, or rather, I mean, that's a little bit aggressive, but Magic does it, Hearthstone does it, and these are basically because over time the library for these cards becomes so great and the design space becomes so limited that a standard rotation, basically wiping out a certain block of cards, allows for newer cards to come in to replace the predecessors in different ways. Now, will standard rotation ever happen? I personally think it's inevitable. However, from what I surmise and from my discussions with CDPR, it's something that they're desperately trying, well, desperately is not the right word. I'll say they're actively trying to avoid by creating new cards that are unique and can reinvent or re-energize certain strategies and synergies that are currently underlooked. There's still a lot of design space, and Gwent is relatively young when you're looking at it against a lot of its other competition. However, it's kind of creeping towards that graybeard status where eventually it's going to likely need a look in terms of, do we need some type of legacy style format where all the cards are legal, and do we need a standard rotation where only the previous 4 sets are legal plus core set? Because we're getting to a point where with all the cards coming out, it might be necessary. But again, like I said, from my discussions with CDPR, it's something that they are actively looking to avoid and don't want to do. So don't think that it's going to happen. anytime soon. So that would be it, friends. Those are 5 things that would be really cool to see in Gwent, but are probably not going to happen. If you've got ideas as to what you think might be cool, but is likely never going to happen, please go ahead, drop it in the comment, let me know. Again, of course, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/watchflake. I want to hear what you got to say. Nonetheless, friends, be kind to one another. Flake loves you. I got your back. I'll see you soon.